I've been on somewhat of a Souls-like kick the last year or so. I've already completed the 6 mainline Souls titles from Software, and with the upcoming release of Elden Ring, I found a great deal of motivation to play through other games that fall under this Souls-like tag. One such game, Hellpoint, which is described as an intense action RPG taking place within a dark sci-fi atmosphere, was one of the few that I tried out. I was immediately intrigued by screenshots and clips of the gameplay, and my hope was to go into it without trying to compare it too much to the epitome of action RPGs created by From Software. I can say that I was definitely pleased. Hellpoint's world feels very dark and surprisingly open, with many areas that loop back to other areas of the large derelict spaceship that you find yourself on. The mechanics are exactly how you would expect a Dark Souls-like title to feel, and for an indie game, the visuals were very impressive. There were only a few downsides to the game, one being it was rather short. The game has 16 bosses total. 7 area bosses, 3 cosmic bosses, 4 Archon Knight bosses, and 2 final bosses, rounding out a total of 16 possible bosses to face in the game. Out of those 16 bosses, I faced 10 of them. In general, I feel Hellpoint is quite fair from a difficulty standpoint by my own personal definition, especially compared to some other mainstream Souls-like games. I feel if you can complete any of the 6 From Software games, you should be able to complete Hellpoint without much difficulty. With that being said, however, here is my personal ranking of Hellpoint bosses I faced from least hardest to hardest. First on the list at number 10, we have Artillery. Found in the Ikari walkways, Artillery is a boss that you could reach early on or late game, depending on which route you take. In my playthrough, I pretty much faced this boss towards the end of my run, so I was pretty beefy by that point. Artillery has mainly 4 moves at his disposal, and learning these makes for a pretty easy finish. It has a shield charge where it will protect itself with the shield and then rush forward. It sometimes uses its large firearm to charge and shoot you. It will slam its arm forward, and lastly, it will use its weapon to spread fire in a wide arc right in front of it. I mainly just dodged the attacks and hit it from behind while it recovered. Overall, not too bad of a boss and kicks off our list.
Baby.
Next on the list at number 9, Archon Slaver, found in the Embassy. This is the first boss players will face, and from the get-go, the boss sets the tone pretty quickly. Archon Slaver has 4 attacks it uses pretty consistently. A 3-hit combo where 3 consecutive attacks are performed. Stay back and you should be just fine dodging these. There is a pretty devastating attack where he uses both of his hands striking downward, dealing a lot of damage, but I watched out for this and was able to get some good hits in. He also has vertical and horizontal swipes, which only required you have somewhat good reflexes to time the dodges necessary to punish. In the end, the boss fight was rinse and repeat. If it attacks, you dodge and punish. Nothing too difficult.
Yeah!
Coming in at number 8 is one of the 4 Archon Knights present in the game. This one just happens to be named the 4th Archon Knight, found in the underworld of the Mausoleum subsection of the Arisen Dominion. This fight introduced some ranged attacks that created an area of effect that, if stood on, would deal damage to the player. Having to tiptoe around these made for an even more nerve-wracking fight. For the most part, I played a pretty defensive strategy, wait for the thrust attack, and then punish, ensuring that I dodged away for any of his incoming 2-hit combos. In the end, if you stay away from his AoE, dodge those devastating combos, and punish when you are free, you will take him down in no time. Number 7, the second of the 4 Archon Knights featured in the game, and the only other Archon Knight I actually fought. This one is named the 3rd Archon Knight. This was actually the first Archon Knight I faced in the game, so it came at somewhat of a surprise when I happened to stumble upon the arena. This boss can be found in the Alma Mater Atrium located in the underworld, which can be entered through the Union Park subsection. There's nothing that separates this Archon Knight from the previous Archon Knight on this list except for the fact that I faced this one first and was unaware and inexperienced with the fight. The same strategy applies. Watch out for those wicked AoE attacks, dodge thrusts, and punish him until his health is 0. Profit. Coming in at number 6 is our Praying Hostess. Found in the alma mater atrium of the Athenaeum subsection, this boss is placed at the end of a rather brutal section of this area. Dying to this boss was a concern I had entering for the first time, as traversal back to this boss would have been a hassle. This is definitely one of the most aggressive bosses in the game. She has a plethora of moves from the likes of whirlwind attacks that deal damage with every hit that connects, a powerful AoE attack where she removes her face mask and punishes you with an AoE, a leap attack that covers the distance between you and her rather quickly, dealing a good amount of damage. For this fight, I just tried to stay alive, move as quickly as possible, and get in as many free hits as I possibly could. I managed to take her out on the first attempt, and I felt very lucky to have done so. Starting off our top 5, we have Consumer. This big, thick boy can be found in the alma mater atrium. Consumer doesn't have very many attacks, but the attacks that it does use have some of the most wicked range. Not only that, but his attacks are very slow, and I was constantly dodging into them instead of away from them. This boss killed me a few times, and in a game that only killed me 7 times total, that's definitely saying something. I managed to correct my timing on the dodges, put enough distance between myself and his wicked range, and punished when possible. Consumer may as well be an easier boss for some, but I put him right here at number 5 on my list. Yeah! Coming in at number 4 is the Arisen Congregators. This boss is found in the Zone District. This is the first and only time you see a 1 versus 2 in Hellpoint, and it's a doozy. One boss wields a lantern, and another a staff that will pierce you with ranged projectiles from a distance. The number one thing to look out for in this fight is that the lantern holder can hit you with its candle, dealing damage and slowing you down, which leaves a window of opportunity for the staff wielder to cast energy arrows and rain them towards you. Or it will teleport to you and then use an AoE explosion, sending you back to the nearest breach. Surprisingly, despite all of the mayhem, I was able to get them separated enough times to dwindle down the lantern wielder's health and then finish off the staff wielder on the first attempt. I think I could have been finished off at any point of this fight, but with a little bit of luck, I was able to make a much harder fight go pretty well.
Come on!
We've reached our top 3, and first up we have Celestial Beast. This boss can be found in the Arcology area and is required to progress in the game. I absolutely consider this the chokehold spot of Hellpoint. I received many comments about this being the spot that had a lot of players dropping out, and for good reasons.
Pretty good though.
This alien dog has 5 attacks at its disposal, one of which, its leap attack, deals a massive amount of damage. Another attack you don't want to be a part of is its tail whip. If you try to dodge around the boss and get behind it, the tail will whip you from existence. While all of that is happening, occasionally it will start whipping its vines at you, which don't do very much damage, but will sometimes push your back up against the wall, which sets the boss up to leap at you. This boss killed me a few times, but with enough determination and well-timed dodges, I was able to dispatch this pesky dog for good.
Go! Yeah!
Coming in at number 2 is a boss that killed me more than all other bosses on this list combined. Undisturbed Deathus Demundus, located in the Arisen Dominion. This is one of the 3 cosmic gods that you could face in the game, and honestly was probably my favorite boss in the game.
No! Bro,
this boss features 6 different attacks, making it one of the most versatile bosses you can face in Hellpoint. One thing I noticed straight away with this boss is it kind of reminded me of Pontiff from Dark Souls 3. Demundus has this sort of phantom copy of itself that attacks instead of the boss itself. I found this to be pretty cool. One thing I did not find cool, however, was the brutally damaging Shadow AoE attack, which causes extremely high radiation and physical damage. If you don't have radiation protection, you might just die from radiation before anything else. Another attack that threw me off was the black hole. You knew this was coming when he crossed his arms. You start to get sucked towards it, leaving you vulnerable to whatever other attack is coming your way. My strategy developed over the course of a few attempts, but in the end it was a matter of endurance, as this boss has a ton of health. Find openings when you can, stay far, far, far away from the radiation AoE, and stay alive. Even though this boss killed me the most, there is still one other boss I have to grant the hardest boss for me personally.
Let's go, baby!
And here we are, the #1 hardest boss I faced in Hellpoint. Ozzy, Goetia, the Master of Puppets. Now, can I really say it's the hardest, even though I first shot it when a few of the bosses ranked lower on this list killed me multiple times? I want to say I'm confident in this assessment, because what separates this boss from the rest of the list is it comes at you with 8 different attacks. 8. One of those attacks, worth mentioning straight away, is the ability to spawn hands. It can spawn up to 6 hands that can swarm you in the middle of the fight. And while you are being swarmed, Ozzy can perform charging attacks that clear the entire room in a matter of seconds. It can do feet stomp attacks, arm sweeps that deal massive damage, all while trying not to be overwhelmed by his hands. My strategy was developing as I was fighting the boss, but I tried to read and pay attention to everything he was doing, and it was surely a lot. In the end, I think this boss was the highlight of Hellpoint, as the variety of attacks made for a really enjoyable experience that I was lucky enough to nail on my first attempt.
Yes!
I believe my success was in quick reaction to the first spawning of hands. Otherwise, this could have turned out to be a very, very long experience, and would almost certainly solidify my decision to put him at the top, where he now rests. Thank you so much for watching. That was my Hellpoint bosses ranked by difficulty. What did you think? Did my list compare to yours? What would you change? If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And of course, feel free to leave in the comments below your rankings. I'd love to see them and react to them. All right, until next time, peeps. Have a great day.
Oh. Let's go!